We are on Perek Dalid Mishnah Yud Aleph, 11th and final Mishnah in the 4th chapter of Eruvin. Says the Mishnah, we're going to conclude our discussion of Eruvin Tchumin, of how a person establishes his personal area in an Eruv Tchum. It says the Mishnah, Mish yatsa chutz latchum afilu ama achat lo yikanes. Let's say you go outside of the Tchum. You have a Tchum Shabbat that gives you 2,000 amot, and you went outside. You're not allowed to go outside 2,000 amot. That's the Isur. The Rabbanon, the Araita. Most people say it's the Araita. Afilu ama achad. One ama outside the Tchum, lo yikanes. Sorry, you can't go back in. It seems clear, we're going to see in a second, that every city measured its Tchum and had markers. So people knew where the Tchum Shabbat was. Rabbi Eliezer says, Shtayim yikanes. If you're up to 2 amot out, then yikanes. Then you can come back into the city, into the Tchum. Shalosh, but if you're 3 amot out, lo yikanes. More than 3, you cannot come in. What is the machloket? So the Bartanura explains. The Bartanura says that Tanakama is based on Rabbi Yehuda. Okay? That Rabbi Yehuda says, we'll see in a second, that even though we're going to see lo yikanes, I think it's Rabbi Yehuda. Why? The aval pisha muvlaot elu arba amot betoch tchum ha'ir. Like if you're 1 amma out, you get 4 amot, like Rabbi Yehuda. We don't say kevan da'al al. You don't get the 4 amot and then you're in. The Svirele, he holds havla'at tchumin lav miltahi. Havla'at tchumin. Havla'at means the swallowing, or the swallowing of tchumin. I'll explain to you when I made you a little drawing. Okay? Here's your tchum Shabbat, and this poor guy is outside the tchum. Okay? So Rabbi Yehuda says, listen, you get 4 amot in any direction. Remember, we said you get a 4 amot round. Here, I'll make it so you can see better. You get 4 amot in every direction. Okay? That's Rabbi Yehuda's position. We learned that in Perek Dalid Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda, or the Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda also. Perek Dalid Mishnah Hey, you can look back. So Rabbi Yehuda says, 1 second, so if you think you get 4 amot in every direction, if I move this circle forward, if I move it forward, you can see, it's in the Tchum Shabbat. No, because Rabbi Yehuda says, Havla'at Tchumin lav miltahi. Havla'at Tchumin means, I'm out, but my once I'm in here, it gets sucked in, and I'm part of the Tchum. He says, no, that doesn't work. You get 4 amot, yes, you can move it 4 amot, but your Tchum overlapping this Tchum does not allow you to then say, once I'm in, I'm in. You're in the force field. It doesn't work that way. On the other end, Rabbi Eliezer says about Tanura that Havla'at Tchumen is miltahi. And remember, Rabbi Eliezer said in the same Mishnah, he says, V'hu be'emtza'an. Remember we said you get 4 amot? But Rabbi Eliezer said you get 4 amot, 2 in each direction. So in this case, this 4, remember you get 2 in each direction, once your 2 is in the Tchum, Havla'at milta is a thing. So therefore, if you're 2 or less outside, then you're good, because Havla'at milta, this 4 amot, this 4 circled amot, these 2 directions is over the Tchum, you're good. But if it's 3 or more, Havla'at milta can't help you. Shalosh, once you're 3, your 2 amot in that direction can't help you, because you're not overlapping in the Tchum. Because if it's 3 amot, let me move this over, right? If I move it, then the Tchum Shabbat is outside of this guy's 2 amot, and he's got a problem, and therefore he can't get in. Mishnah continues. I'm walking on the way in order to get into the Tchum. But and the Shabbat came and darkness happened, I'm outside the Tchum. Let's go back to our trusty map that we've been using from Yad Binyamin. Here we go. Okay, let's move this. We're back in Yad Binyamin. Okay, the Tchum Shabbat is the regular Tchum Shabbat, and I'm walking. I get to Kidron, and I intend to get to Yad Binyamin. And Shabbat came in Kidron. I'm in Kidron, I didn't make it to the Tchum. The Mishnah says, Afilu amma achat lo yikanes. Even 1 amma, you cannot get in. Now this seems pretty draconian, because normally we say that if a person is, I'm Kidron, I make my Tchum, then I'm in the 2,000 amot, I can get to Yad Binyamin, I'm good. What happened to my 2,000 amot? So the Bartanura says, why afilu amma achat? Dibi mikomo lo kana shvita. Because in this specific case, I didn't make shvita in my place. Why? Sha'arei gila dato. I don't want to make shvita in Kidron. I want to make it to Yad Binyamin. Ube'ir lo kana shvita. I didn't make shvita in the ear. Sheyesh beino ubeina ir yoter mi'alpayim mama. I don't have to. I can't say I'm in Kidron. I'm 2,000 amma away from Yad Binyamin. Okay, so therefore, hilkach. The 2,000 amot won't get me to Yad Binyamin. Hilkach. Eino ela arba amot. I only get my 4 amot. That's all I get. Kedin alike mishi yatsa mechutz latchum. Just as if a person who went outside techum Shabbat on Shabbat itself. This is a pretty harsh, ein lo ela arba amot. Okay, that's pretty harsh. It seems to be the language of the Mishnah, that afilu ama achat lo yukanes seems lo yukanes, I don't get anything. So the Bartanura says, in this case, lo yukanes, I can't even get into the city, and I don't get 2,000 amot. The Rambam, on the other hand, the Kahati says that the Rambam holds, no, you don't get into the city, but the Rambam says, I do get the Alpayim Amah. Meaning the Rambam says, I get up to Yad Binyamin, but I can't get into Yad Binyamin because I'm more than 2,000 amot away. That's a machloket between the Mefarshim. Do I get nothing and only 4 amot in Kidron? Or do I get the whole area and maybe I get to Gedera if I have to, whatever. Okay, that's the machloket. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Afilu 15 amot yikanes. Even if I'm 15 amot outside the city, I can go in. Why? She'ein ha-mishochot mimatzin et hamidot. Mishochot are the ropes. They used ropes to measure. 50 amot length ropes to measure the 2,000 amot. So the mishuchot, the ropes, are not mimatzin et hamidot. They're not exact. Limatzot means that they're not exact. Let me see if I can get the exact translation. Okay? They're not midayek. They're not exact on the midot of the measurements. Mipnei hatoim, because people make mistakes. So now there's 2 possible understandings. What does it mean that the measurements, the mishuchot, the ropes are not exact? The Bartanura says the modidei atchumim, the measurers, okay, ein mematzin et amidot la'asot siman b'sof apayim mamash. They don't measure 2,000 exactly. Ela kontzino tam b'toch apayim. Meaning, let's go back to my imaginary techum. When we get to the techum, where's my picture? Here we are. The techum Shabbat. They measure the techum Shabbat here, but they intentionally move it in too much. Why? Because of the people who make mistakes. She'ena mekirin hasiman. They don't recognize the signs. Upamin shiotzin la'alan mimena. Sometimes they go out further. V'chozrin. And they come back. V'lava da'atayhu. And they don't do it intentionally. Mishum hachi. Okay, because of this reason, because of these people, that they would go out a little more. Tamid, beginning tamid lichnos b'tocha alpayim. They would always leave the border inside. They wouldn't measure 2,000 exactly. They would measure 1,985 amot. And there, because of the people, for these people. It turns out, elu 15 amot b'toch techum. These 15 amot are b'toch techum. Now it's interesting. The Bartanura says, when the Mishnah says, Rabbi Shimon says, afilu 15 amot yikanes, even 15. Interesting comment. Al 15 amot, the Bartanura says, lav davka. Not exactly 15. It could be a little more, it could be less. He says, some people say 15, and he says, I don't know why it would be 15. Meaning, they would give a leeway. Everybody knew what the leeway was. 15, a little more, a little less. It's a really dochek pshat. Why? Because let's say, for example, okay, each place they would add extra. How much extra? And if you had extra, then people would just use the extra because they knew you had extra. That's always the problem of unclear boundaries. Isn't it better? According to the Bartanura, they would just have unclear boundaries, and every city would measure a little bit less in order to give people leeway. Wouldn't they take advantage of that leeway? How much boundaries are there? How much extra is there? What's the purpose of borders if they don't really mean anything? But yet the Bartanura, and that's why the Perush of the others say, the Kahati quotes others who say, it doesn't mean that they measured intentionally wrong. What it means is, the measurement, they didn't intentionally measure wrong, but they measured including the amount of area it would take to hold the rope. Okay, there was extra, there was mistakes in the measurements. And therefore, even though they measured 2,000, there's a 15 out of 2,000 of less than 0.075% mistake range. And that's why you have the extra 15. Nonetheless, the Bartanura says, Ein alachak Rebbe Shimon. We don't pass them like that. Rather, 2,000 amot, and you're in, you're out. As always, comments or questions, email me at arspolter@gmail.com. I will dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.